Hey everyone, welcome back to another Big Stall official YouTube video. Today we have a little bit of a change of pace from the usual Showdown lives. Today we're actually going to be going over my the stall viability rankings. And I'm sure, as if you don't know, a few of the biggest tournaments of the year, namely SPL Smogon Premier League and OST, the official Smogon tournament, recently concluded. And with that, there's been a lot of team building innovation and a lot of meta shifts as a result. And Stall being very reactive play style, we also react to the changes in the meta. And there's been I think a lot of big changes as to the viability of different mons in Stall. And today I'm actually joined by a very special guest, another member of the Stall Council, Sire Claude. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Sire Claude. Relatively new to the competitive scene. I joined Smogon like last year, but I've started taking Mons a little more seriously over the last year, and mostly played Stall to get better over the last, over like 6 months last year. And I think Stall is an important part of the metagame, and so yeah, I'm excited to do this ranking. Be interesting to see where everything falls.
And
Thanks for having me.
yep, sounds great. And I don't know if you guys caught that, but he said he played a lot of Stall to get better. And I think I can say the same. So if you guys do want to get better at the game, make sure you continue to watch these videos, join the Discord server, and continue to be active. Anyways, following these big tournaments, I think the meta has shifted a lot towards, some of, really, I think bulky offense and balance have become a lot more dominant. And I think some of the main reasons why that's happened is because I think we've seen a lot of rise in mons like Petrunt. I've seen a big resurgence in like Garg usage. And even a lot of offensive pivots like Torn as well. And then also I think one big surprise is a rise in mons like Weezing, and then of course mons like Mola and G King are as good as ever. And so I think when you have a lot of these like defensive pivots plus like these utility mons that are really tough for offense but can also put pressure on other fat teams, I think you kind of have this sort of perfect storm where balance and bulky offense have become kind of dominant. Let me know if what do you think about that kind of assessment of the meta?
Yeah, it feels like at least in tournament you can just bring Ting-Lu or Garg, Weezing, these kind of guys, and it just gives you a really safe, like even in a bad matchup, you'll have avenues to win the game.
Exactly.
Where,
Yeah.
whereas like previously, or like Petch, right? Like sometimes you bring all those guys and then you run into an Ogre Pawn or whatever, and you're really struggling. But now you can have Weezing or Petch as kind of your water switch in once or twice.
Yeah, and I think also the ban of Roaring Moon was definitely a big
For
catalyst
sure.
to shifting that, because I think prior to the Roaring Moon ban, I didn't see a lot of stuff like Torn. I think Petch was a little harder to fit, but now we've seen a lot of now that it's gone, and that kind of pressure is no longer in the meta, for better or for worse. I think these kind of pivot mons, utility mons have gotten a lot better.
Yeah,
They've even seen like a rise in like things like Spikes Ogre Pawn and Synthesis Ogre Pawn, which have also helped provide more breaking for bulky offense and stuff like that. So definitely very cool to see.
yeah, the best knocker in the game is gone. So like every team is just more greedy.
Yeah, yep, for sure. So I think why don't we kick it off? Let's go. We'll just go down the list here. First one I'm seeing on this list here is Moltres. So why don't you let me know, what do you think? What do you think about Moltres in this meta?
Well, as far as like a ranking, it's going to be hard like at first to know exactly what letter it's going to be. Like on stall, for example, I wouldn't really use it too much, but I don't think it's bad. It's just that Talonflame it defogs and Molt doesn't. But if it was like a semi-stall or like a bulky offense, I think Molt definitely would be quite high up because like
Yeah,
it's so good.
I think
The speed,
one of the
I,
things that you know I think in my previous ranking for Moltres, I actually ranked it equal to Talonflame, and I think that was when it was a little bit more of a offense and hyper offense. Hyper offense and offense were a little bit better than they are now.
I don't
And
think
so
it's even. I don't think it would be even be that far behind. Like, because
yeah, yeah,
again, probably not on stall, like full stall, but it's you can run Spadef with Roar, Brave Bird. You can run a pivot. You can do so many different things with it. Like it's
yeah,
so versatile.
yeah. The extra bulk is definitely really noticeable over Talonflame. Although I think especially
For
now with
sure.
how stall has trended, and we'll get into it later. I think removal has become really important. And so that's
Like
kind of what
start off.
edges that's what edges Talonflame over it for me. But I think Moltres is definitely still solid. I think we can adjust this as we go. But I think right now I'd probably put it somewhere around like the A minus range. I think it's still really solid. But I think maybe there's a few mons
Yeah,
that you
A
could
minus.
like A minus B plus, and I think depending on where we put these
Yeah,
other mons, we can move it up or down one. But yeah,
yeah.
I think A minus B plus ish is a good place to start. Next, we have Quagsire. So I'm sure many of you have used or at least seen the Quagsire team that I peak ladder with a few months ago. And I've also been using Quagsire recently on the ladder, and I've got to say, and I think I even wrote this down in the the RMT. There was only one Pokemon that 6-0'd the Quagsire stall on lead with 0 counterplay, and that was Taunt Roaring Moon.
Right.
And now that that's gone, well, obviously that team has gotten a lot better. So I've been messing around with stuff, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work. But I've got to say, I think Quagsire is definitely seen a big bump. I think from the last iteration of the meta. I think it's bulky enough to check a lot of the physical setup attackers. Toxic, which something like Dondozo doesn't have, and then you can also fit spikes or rocks. And the immediate recover is also really nice.
Yeah.
What do you think about Quag?
I think in theory, Quag got a lot better after the Roaring Moon. I think it's just more underexplored because there's your RMT with the Quagsire on it, and I've still seen that like on ladder a couple times. I think it's done okay, but I think the time is ripe for a new Quagsire stall team. Like again, Roaring Moon, its biggest op is gone.
Yep.
It can't get taunted. Ogerpon is all over the place, so that would be a reason that like okay, this might struggle a little bit because like it has to be unaware, right? But
Yep.
you can EV it to like I'm pretty sure you can EV it to comfortably or not comfortably, but like take like less than 50 max from uh fallen. I think it's fallen 5 Kowtow from Gambit without black glasses. Maybe I just made that up, but you can fit counter on it, and it has
It'll
ways of
yeah.
dealing with game.
It'll live one for sure. It'll live one for
I
sure.
don't remember the calc. Yeah, I don't remember the calc, but I'm pretty sure there was like a very convenient. Maybe it's not fallen 5, but yeah, Quag can either EQ or counter back. It can get up hazards. It can toxic, like you said.
Yep.
So I think it's pretty versatile. I don't remember. This doesn't get curse, right?
I think it does, but
It does. It does. It
it's
does.
a little difficult.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
So
Yeah, it would probably be more niche.
a
But
little difficult to fit.
yeah,
And I think just
I think I
yeah,
think
go ahead.
Quag would probably also be like A minus,
Yeah.
maybe a little higher. It's hard to say because like again, I haven't seen any new Quagsire stall teams. But I think you could definitely build around it in the place of Dondozo.
Yeah, and I think also one thing that Quag really benefits from, and we'll get into this once we get into Talonflame and Wheezing, but I think removal has gotten a lot better, or at least become more common. And so one thing I've kind of been experimenting with is actually running leftovers on Quagsire, and because he's neutral, because he takes less from rocks than Dondozo, and
Right.
he isn't as bulky, but also has the immediate recover. I think Quag is one of the big kind of beneficiaries of that. So I think yeah, for now we can um,
I guess another thing is Garg is all over the place, and Quag gets owned by Garg. Well, I mean,
true.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
can
mean
EQ.
it's not like
But
Dozo
Garg is,
does any
yeah, Garg
better,
is never.
but
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know. I think Quag.
But at least Dozo, it's like okay, you can curse, and then maybe it can break through with a crit or something.
I
spot.
think Quag I'd probably put somewhere right around where Moltres is.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of like it's really good, but there's definitely a just a slightly better option in Dondozo. So I think Quag that's kind of where I put mons like Moltres and Quag in that just really solid, but not the the top dog in the role that they serve.
Mhm.
All right, next we have G King, Slowking Galar. I think Slowking G. If we were doing a balanced ranking, or if we were doing like a bulky offense kind of ranking, I think this mon would go right up there in A plus S. But in install, um, it's a little harder to fit. I think I've had some success using this mon back in the official ladder tournament ladder phase. I think one area where G King really excels is the kind of like the pivot heavy metas. When there's like when people were I think Vert and all that were just starting to use like boots, bolt, volt switch, and that kind of chunks Blissey down over time. But if you have a Slow King, a G King on your team, you just kind of eat those up, all day long. And you can also fit stuff like Protect for future sight. And so I think it did really well in those kind of like pivot heavy offense metas, which right now I don't think we're in. So I think that kind of would knock it down for me. I don't know if you have any thoughts on G King here.
Yeah, again, on full stall, it's probably harder to slot. I did have some success with, I mean, I would still call it stall. I had your Talonflame stall with the Swords Dance Gliscor.
Right, right.
Um, I like swapped out the Chansey for the Slow King G, so it's like a triple poison, and it's
Right.
like it's not that bad. It puts on a lot more offensive pressure, obviously, and you have to swap the role of Stealth Rocks to elsewhere. But it's an interesting mon to have on a semi-stall type build. You could also, I don't know, you could try Brennan Boots and Philly Reception and Light Screen or something, but I don't think there's too
Yeah.
much place for that right now.
Yeah, it's tough to fit.
You just
I
get chipped by, you get knocked, or you get chipped by other pivoters. It's kind
Exactly, yeah. And I think one of the big
of
things is it's I think it has comparable. It's a little more bulky on the special side, but I think one of the other things that it's missing compared to the other poisons, it doesn't really have like the anti setup that like Amoonguss or their Toxapex have, and I think that really hurts it.
Yeah, it's like, and there's like too many things in the meta that just punish it. Like Gliscor, like if you don't have Ice Beam, Gliscor owns you.
Yep.
The Ogrepons, Landorus's, Tusks, they all, I mean, either they pivot on you or they do big damage to you, scare you out, and then they get rocks up as you leave, stuff
Yeah.
like that. So it's all kind of a little too easy to exploit on stall, I think. Whereas like on balances, you're soaking up a hit and you're pivoting out into your breaker.
Yep.
So
I think for that, I'd probably put it somewhere in like the C plus, B minus
very
kind of
good.
range. I think it's okay. It's a decent wall, but nothing special.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, Next we have Blissey. I think we can just
Scroll all the way to the top right
right away just
here.
put that in S. I think
I don't know I actually don't know about S for Blissey.
really.
Not that it's not amazing still, but just for the fact that it's not, I don't feel like it's mandatory because because of all the removal around, you can have Chansey, you can have other Spadef, like even Blissey Chansey list stall with like Treads and AB Torn or something like that. And again, I think Lefty's Blissey is so good right now, so it's still definitely very close to the top. But I don't know. I would say just the way I would do the rankings, I would say S is like mandatory on stall, and I don't think Blissey is necessarily that right now.
Interesting. I mean, I think I would disagree a little there. I think like you mentioned, Lefty's Blissey is just so good. I think because I think especially what I've noticed when I play a lot of these bulky offenses is people like to double in and out on Blissey.
Mhm.
Because Blissey is it's pretty one dimensional in what it does. So if somebody doubles in a physical attacker, you gotta just switch it out right away. And that can definitely get you falling behind. But when you have leftovers, you're just kind of healing passively every time you bring it in, and so it kind of I feel like that cuts down on how much it can be exploited. Whereas something like Chansey, and the reason I don't like Chansey is because sure you have a little more physical bulk, but you
Mhm.
don't get that kind of passive recovery, and I think that in some of these games that I've played, on ladder, definitely it definitely matters, especially when you're in a Calm Mind War versus like a Golden Go, or like
That's true.
trying to avoid losing to Moth getting 4 Fiery Dance boosts in a row. Just having that
I
extra
guess
healing can help.
I guess it's not like a yeah. I mean, I can see that it being S still because it's like with the moon ban. Since this can run lefties, Blissey actually got better. So
Yeah,
yeah, I guess if you're at S already, and then you can't really move down if you actually got better.
yeah, and
But
I
yeah,
think
that's
yeah,
just like my reasoning for like it's not. I wouldn't say it's completely mandatory, but yeah, it's still definitely the best option you have for.
yeah. I think I
Uh,
would put it at S, but I mean, I think you did bring up a good point. I think you can kind of get around not having it with something like a Ting-Lu plus a Glow King or something like that.
mhm.
So I think that might be something to watch out for in the next, or
And I guess
as the
even those kind of like trend towards more like
exactly.
semi-stall
Yeah,
bulky offense type structures anyway.
sure. I think for now I'll put it at S, but yeah, I didn't really consider, um, that, you know, I think there's definitely room for experimentation here.
Mhm.
All right, next we have Amoonguss. Amoonguss, nothing has really changed much for me for Amoonguss. I think it still does what it's always done. It's the best Ogerpon answer in the game. It, there's nothing new that it beats that it didn't beat before, or there isn't really a surge in stuff that it beats. I think it's still it's just as good. It's a good mon. I think it doesn't quite have the utility that like a Mola or Pex does, but like if you need a rock solid Ogerpon answer, and you want an extra regen, I think the Amoonguss is just a solid contender for that spot.
What did you say you put it?
Me personally, I'd probably put it at. I mean, we still haven't really fleshed out like this A minus to A
Yeah.
plus thing yet, but I think right now my gut, I think I'd rank it lower than the other regens, but I think it's still a little better than something like a Moltres. So I think if I have Moltres at like B plus, and Moltres and Quag at B plus, I'd probably put Amoonguss right around like A minus.
Yeah, Mungus is a tough one because obviously Ogerpon's all over the place, and this is the best Ogerpon switch in, not named like Sinistcha or something. But the other problem is like you're usually doubling. You already have a almost mandatory poison type on stall, um, and like Ogerpon's best way of punishing uh, Amoonguss, which is meant to counter it, is to U-turn on it or nuke it as it comes in, or now a lot of Ogrepons do this. They can just spike up as you come in.
Yeah.
So I think Amoonguss got a little bit worse. It's probably still very good. I haven't actually seen a lot of Amoonguss on stall recently either. So I think it's usable, but again, doubling up on poison types
Yep.
is probably like, would you really rather have this than Pex or Weezing
Exactly.
or
Exactly.
like
And I think
um,
now that there's less Swords Dance Ogerpon, because Swords Dance is mostly like a hyper offense kind of set, and I think on bulky offense you don't really
right?
want
Yeah,
to
they're
or
all
need to
spiked.
run. Yeah. So and I think Amoonguss is really good at being Swords Dance Ogerpon with the foul play and the quad water resist, or the quad grass resist, but that's not as necessary. So I think it's still good. I think but again, like you mentioned, if you had to choose between this and the other poisons, I wouldn't it wouldn't be the first one I'd go for. And I think Stall has also found other ways to deal with Ogerpon. So I think I'd put Amoonguss right around A minus. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's better than Quag and Molt.
Yeah,
It's just more of a case where it's like it's harder to build around.
yeah.
But I think
Next,
it definitely has a place though.
for sure. Next we have Mola. I think Mola.
So,
I don't know. I mean, I haven't used too much Mola recently. Um, I think for me personally, I think right now out of the best kind of regen mons, I think it's sort of Pex. So
heck yeah.
I think I think I'm not quite sure where Mola really falls into that. I think I kind of want to rank it maybe a little better than Amoonguss, but like I don't know if that deserves to if it deserves a slot above if it deserves to be with Amoonguss or above Amoonguss. Like I mean I don't know. What are your thoughts on have you been using it, or what do you think its place is on stall right now?
As far as just pure stall goes, yeah, I would agree. It's probably just like slightly better than Amoonguss. I mean, Weezing loves this guy as a partner, but
Agreed. Yeah.
you can also run Weezing without Mola as well. Like
Definitely. Yeah.
that's perfectly fine. As long like it can be like 4+ Weezing, Mola plus Weezing. Like
Yeah.
Pex is definitely the better water regen. Um, Now, just like overall, Alomomola is the greatest Pokemon of all time. I don't go anywhere without Alomomola. Um, like it's so good right now. Just slap an AV on it, take every single hit, pivot out. Um, Body slam as the Ogre Pawn comes in, but you don't really do that on stall.
No.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I
as
think.
far
I
as
think.
false, A is a good place for it. I could see low end of A. Actually, I'm thinking about who I would put in A plus. Yeah, I think A is a good spot
Yeah. I
for
think we
Mola.
can. Yeah. I think we. I would agree. I think we can park it there for now. Torn. I was talking about Torn has gotten a lot better on like bulky offense and balance. I don't think the same. Well, actually, I mean that's not true. I did have a team, way back in like early DLC or maybe it was late DLC one, but I had a Tornadus set, that ran enough speed for Iron Valiant, the rest in like defense and HP, and then it ran like Sludge Bomb or like and Foul Play to like take out like Ogre Pawn if it's set up, or like Sludge Bomb and Iron Valiant and stuff like that. So I mean it's actually not it's actually pretty decent. And obviously we know it gets like knock, U-turn and taunt. It gets some utility moves, and so I think Torn definitely has room to be explored. I think it can be a really annoying mon for some of the fatter teams, with a lot of the disruption options that it has. I think I need to get around to using it a little more, but I think Torn definitely has room to go up here.
For sure. I think Torn is like a ceiling raiser. If your back five is rock solid and you can find room for Torn, you're gonna win every single, match against a in a fat mirror.
Yeah, yeah,
Or again,
definitely.
full stall. It's probably because it doesn't like offer that much defensive utility if you're not running AV. Like you probably want boots on stall unless you have really good removal, and that's like again you're already taking up a slot, so it's probably you're gonna have to pick and choose what you want. So there's a really good team running around. I think CTC made it. It's like a
Yep.
bulky. I don't know what I'd call it, but just like a fat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
Like a
about?
balance. Yeah, yeah, with like
Ting-Lu,
a golden go
yeah,
wheezing.
there's a
Yep.
scarf on it.
Yep.
That team is really good right now, and Torn is like just doing everything. It's like the perfect glue for that team. It helps out versus offense because it's speed tier, and it helps out versus all the fat mirrors because it can knock everybody off and pivot around. Yeah, I think semi-stall type teams, this guy's really good. Full stall, probably, yeah, like you said, room to explore. I'd probably put it B plus, bottom of B plus.
Well, all right. So right now I have Slowking G at C plus. And I mean we can move that a little bit. He might go a little higher. I think.
I thought that was a little harsh at first. I was like, damn, two whole tiers
I
in
think. I mean. I
between.
think. I think overall, I'm trying to be a little more just selective. I think one of the things we in the past is I think we tried to rank too much, or just and you just
Yeah.
kind of get this like jam at the bottom where you just have like 10 mons in C minus, and you can't really tell what the difference is between uh you know each like
I mean,
it's a
yeah.
little harder to distinguish. So I think if we can be a little more like selective in where we rank stuff, and then if we end up leaving stuff off, that's totally fine. But I think I'd kind of put Torn in that. I think I'd put him a little more. I think I'd put him above G King. I think, um, you know, I'm a big believer in some of the defensive utility that Torn can offer, and I think, like you said, I think there's, you know, it can raise the ceiling of a team, and there's more potential in my opinion than to explore with it than something like a G King. So I think wherever Mons like G King end up shaking out is I'd probably put Torn like one or two tiers above that.
Or like B minus for now.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
All right. Next, we have Talonflame. I think a lot of the Talonflame discussion we had, around Moltres. I think just the big thing about Talonflame is it gets defog, and right now without Roaring Moon, there's a lot of I think what we've seen, and I think another council member, Zeros, also mentioned this, but with the absence of like the really strong knockoff from Roaring Moon, instead what you've gotten is just like a bunch of like random weak knockoff mons that are just popping up. Like Clef has
Mhm.
gotten a little better. I think some of these like Gliscor
Every Tusk has
balances.
knockoff.
Yeah, exactly. Tusk is no longer Tusk can run knockoff instead of
Or even like, I mean, they all actually a bunch of them have like head smash and shit to catch Molt too. So
exactly. Yeah. So I think just having the removal makes a big difference now. I think the more offense oriented the meta becomes, the less important that removal is. But as you start shifting to the bulky offense and the balance centered meta, which we have, I think that the removal gets a lot better. So I think I'd probably put it. I don't know if I'd put it at the tier of Amoonguss or above. I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, right now I'm between like A and A minus with Talonflame here.
well, right now we have Quag and Molt in B plus, right?
Yeah.
And I think Talon is definitely above those two. But so I would say like A minus is good, below Amoonguss, I think.
Yeah, I think that's
Actually, I don't know if I'd put it below Amoonguss. I feel like I definitely see a lot more Talon than Amoonguss. But again, Ogerpon everywhere, and it's like you have to play so carefully around it.
yeah.
If you have another good water switch in, if you got Pex, you got Weezing, whatever, on your team, or if you can commit your Terra early, knowing that you don't have to use it for anything else on their team, then it's like, okay, cool. I can bring my Talonflame hard in on their Tusk or Lando or whatever. Although a lot of Landos have Stone Edge, so that can be a little tricky sometimes.
Yeah.
But like once you've scouted the sets, and you can just bring it in safely on certain mons and get the fog for free, Goldengo is like, can I really come in on this defog? Am I going to risk taking this overheat or whatever fire move they use? So I think it's definitely still quite good. Definitely a tier above Moltres in my opinion.
Yeah, and I
But
really like
Moltres,
one thing I like about Talonflame is the synergy with Gliscor. Like, Tusk likes to click Ice Spinner or, Rapid Spin on the hazards that Gliscor sets, and, Talonflame just completely, thwarts that. So,
really
I
good
think,
speed too.
yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah.
its bulk is not bad. It's not that bad. Like you can throw this thing at King Gambit without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
King Gambit plus, I'm pretty sure +2 without any fallen does like 90, and then
And you never really let them get to +2
yeah,
anyways.
you never let them get to +2 because you just Gambit comes in, you go in. If they SD, you can wisp it. If they attack, well, you're fishing for a burn and you just roost and roost and roost. So it's like this, yeah, unless they're like Terrifier Gambit, they're never going to beat you with that as long as you have Talonflame on your
Yeah.
team.
I think A minus is pretty fair here.
I think another thing that Talon allows you to do is it allows you to run shit like Spadef Dozo,
Yep, for
for
sure.
example. 'Cause then it's like, oh, I really don't worry about Gambit. I can be greedy and
Yeah, you can
like,
have like lefties plus special defense because you have the removal and you have the flame body support. And so definitely, I think that's kind of what edges
yeah,
Talonflame
we'll get
higher.
to that. We'll get to
Um,
that guy.
Pex, I think Pex right now. I think earlier I had in my last vote, in my last slate of the VR, I had dropped Pex a bit, but I think Pex is back again. I think I said it earlier too, but I think right now out of the kind of the three big regens, Amoonguss, Mola, and Pex is for sure
Yeah.
the best of them. So I think Pex's role it's been the same as always. We don't need to talk too much about it. Spread toxic, just be annoying. Haze is as good as ever. Stop like the bulky setup like a Calm Mind Clef or like a fully bold like Golden Go. You can use Pex to like scout and haze it or like so it's just even like a Garg like or like a Dirge. Like I've even seen like more Dirge now. Pex just totally stops those mons. So I really like using Pex right now. I don't know. I think I'd probably put it. What do you think? A plus or
I like A+
yeah,
with Moon gone. Um, this guy can literally just run four status moves and not even think about it. Because like, I mean, yeah, there's Ogrepons with taunts, there's Valiants with taunts, but like they're not that common. You probably still run Sludge Bomb in a lot of cases on Pex, but you can get away with it
yep,
now. Whereas before, like you can't do that. If
yeah,
there's a taunt moon, you just get fried on the spot.
yep. All right, next we have Corviknight. I think Corviknight for me belongs right in the tier of. It might actually be. I mean, I think the thing here, the thing about Corviknight is when you run into like these like Ting-Lu like Skarm teams with no gold, like Corv is just God. It's just untouchable. Like it just owns like the Ting-Lu hazard stack builds. Like it just defogs all the time. You stall out the hazards with pressure easily. It's just so good in those kind of matchups. And it's still great at beating Gambit. You know, with the fast Iron Defense set. But then when you run into gold, or sometimes even like running into like a Moltres, it's a lot harder to get the same value out of Corv. And so that's I think that's what holds it back from being really good. But I think Corv is still a really top tier option on stall. So like I don't know if I'd rank it at Talonflame or above Talonflame. I mean, what do you think about it?
Definitely above Talonflame for sure. I think A is good for it. I like Corv a lot. Um, Again, another guy that benefits from Moon being gone, because before, like, you had to worry about basically every time Moon would come in, like, because before it got banned, all the Moons were starting to become adamant and bulky with
Yeah, yeah,
moves
true,
for
true.
and
Yeah,
it's like you have to get the turns right with Corv, or you're just fucked. If you try to eye-def as they taunt, GG. If you tear a fight body press and as they switch out and you do nothing, it's like, oh fuck, now I lost my great typing, and they don't have to predict anything. Um, so yeah, I think this is it got better with the Moon ban, and this guy loves to be partners with Weezing,
yep.
and just like yeah, Goldango and Weezing. I mean, Goldango and Molt and stuff like that still are an annoyance. But I mean, Corv is Corv.
Yeah,
Great typing, great bulk. You can do a few things. You can IDEF press with it. Probably not a whole lot of Brave Bird right now, but I mean that's good for Ogre Pawn. You can pivot if you have like a SD score type of team. Um, like get your knockoff users in. It's uh it's just good overall. I would say its stocks are up overall, but maybe on stall just because the other defog users have gotten better as well. Um, I would say trying to decide above or below Mola. I would probably put it below Mola.
yeah. I think A
It also loves Mola as a partner. So
true. Yeah, I think A is a fair spot.
yeah.
For it. Dirge, Dirge is the unfortunate. We have the unaware trio, but Dirge is kind of the odd
I
one
love
out.
Dirge.
It's super tough to fit. It doesn't
Yeah.
I think it's great. Uh, it's great on other types of teams, but it just the defensive typing is just not what you're looking for in a in your physical wall. Being weak to ground and dark when two of the best physical attackers in the tier are ground and dark types. It's tough.
Yeah, being forced to run boots is.
Yeah, that as well.
I really wish there was a place for Dirge on stall because it's such a cool Pokemon. But
I think
like I've kind
I think I'd
of
put
run
it
like a
below
covert
like G
cloak
King maybe. Yeah, go ahead. What were you about to say?
I was trying to do like a covert cloaks Dirge semi stall type of thing. It's really hard to make work, but it's so fun when it pans out. But
Yeah,
yeah, on stall,
yeah,
this
it's tough.
guy just outclassed by all the unawares, all the yeah.
I think I'd put it at around C. I think it could go maybe one lower or higher. Because I mean I'm looking now and I see
Hey,
some.
there's some dog shit on this list. I'm not putting Sturge at the very
I mean
bottom.
I think the ultimate goal here is to just not even rank some of the really bad shit mons.
Yeah,
And just kind of clear like I said before I think it's just it doesn't help anybody when you have like
yeah.
40 mons in the bottom two tiers because what are you supposed to do with that. So I think I'll put it at like C for now, and I think it deserves to be ranked, but towards the bottom end for sure. Next we have Garg. I mean I personally don't like Garg all that much, but I mean why don't you what do you think about Garg overall?
Well, there is exactly one Garg stall team, and it's still chugging around.
True.
Um, Now, is it because a certain player is very good, or is it because Garg stall is good? Okay, obviously Garg stocks overall
Yeah, way up
through
for
the roof,
sure. Way up for sure.
through the roof. Um, it's amazing. They're all running Terra Water, Protect, Rocks, Recover. It's doing the same thing it was doing when it first dropped.
Yep.
Um, I mean, it can run Fairy as well. I think Water's a little more common, but yeah, lives every hit from every physical, super effective attack. Lives every, it, just this guy wins every single game.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
it's super
first
good
skill,
on like bulky offenses and whatnot. It's such an underrated win con. I've used it. Done a lot of experimenting with it outside of stall. But I think on
problem with
stall,
stalls, like
it's
you have to run. Yeah,
yeah,
it still has to have leftovers.
right. So
And
you
I
need
would think that
removal.
with removal, like so many stalls have double removal now, so you'd think that like Garg might be able to fit, but usually like when you try building that way, and then you're like, okay, I have Garg, I have my Weezing, I have my I don't know Treads or something, but then usually you end up filling the other three slots with something like a little more offensive,
Right.
instead of making it a stall team, because that's just kind of how you punish the things that those three guys would be weak to. Um,
I think
yeah,
yeah,
I'm stalled.
I think I'd
Like
put
I
it
don't know,
probably below like Quagsire. I think it's still I think
I definitely
more
use it.
yeah, I think more so this is more so just kind of the the proof is there that it works. But I think it's a bit restricted in what kind of stall teams it can fit on. It requires removal, it requires being able to run lefties. And there's some
Yeah,
games where it just can't do anything because you don't get the turns to set it
mhm.
up. So
I guess it would kind of be like torn in like Ceiling Razor if you have a rock solid
for
five, then this
sure,
guy's
yep.
an amazing win con in the back. But
I think I
that's
put
like
it at
really
B.
helpful.
Right now I put it at B. What do you think?
Yeah, that seems fair.
All right, next up we have Cyclizar. Cyc is one of my personal favorites. I think one of the best stall teams ever in Gen 9 OU was the Cyclizar stall back in the I want to say like the late home meta. After the Shed Tail was banned and Cyclizar came back. It's got a lot of great utility, knock, rapid spin. It beats Golden Go with like a temper flare if it comes into block and spin. Um, and actually, I think funny enough, we've been talking a lot about how removal has gotten a lot better. Cyclizar is really great in these kind of metas, and when you have a lot of removal, you can run Assault Vest on it. Make it a lot bulkier. The metas that it doesn't like are like the super offensive because Cyclizar he's made of paper. He can't really take like really strong hits. But when you're dealing with kind of like the weaker, you know something like a Torn, like Cyclizar has no problem taking those kind of hits. So I think I need to use it a little more. I think there's a lot of room to grow here with Cyclizar. I think he's probably better than where he was a few months ago. Um, I haven't really
I
used
think
it too
he's
much myself yet, but I think the potential is there for him.
I think he's definitely underexplored for sure. One of the big problems that I can think of though is, I mean, Gliscor, Ogerpon. This guy doesn't really. It can U-turn on the Ogerpons, I guess, but
You can actually
it's
outspeed it, which I've
you can, yeah, but
with
that
assault
takes
vest you can afford the extra speed because you have the bulk. And so lately,
yeah.
if you look at my triple removal team, which I mean, granted is a bit old, that I made with CTC, we run enough speed on Cyclizar for Ogerpon.
Yeah, I think there needs to be more research done on
For sure.
Cyclizar. It's got potential. It's
I think I'd probably
it's
put it
interesting.
in that
Like you said, like it's a ghost switch. You
yeah.
don't have that very often. I mean, Chansey, but or the Blissey, but
I don't know. I think maybe I'm a little I'm thinking somewhere B or B minus. Like I'm trying to think like is it as good as Garg? Like I think it's probably better than Torn. Now is it better than Garg? Just as good as Garg? Like that's kind of where I'm a little. I think you need a little to see a little more teams with it to determine that. I think maybe for now I'll probably put it at B minus. But I think he definitely has room to go up.
yeah, it's hard for me to rank that one. Because like I haven't really seen any Cyclizar
Yeah.
Cyclizar stalls recently. So
I think we can go with B minus for now. Dondozo is next. I think
yeah.
earlier I had ranked in my uh, the last slate of VR. I actually had moved Dondozo out of S into A plus, but I think Dondozo. I don't know. It's tough because there's like versus some of these like balanced teams like Dondozo like doesn't do anything, like because some of these teams just, like they just straight up don't have any physical setup attackers, and so like yeah like early game Dondozo is really not doing much, but then as you kind of get to the late game, Dondozo gets a lot stronger because if you can kind of weaken some of the stuff that it doesn't like the Ogre Pawn. Or like a Petron, like knock off the boots of a Petron so that it can't keep parting shot on you. The Wincon Dozo is, the setup, the wall / Wincon Dozo set, can be really strong.
The fact that I think this is still like top of A plus for me as well. But I would say this definitely got better with Moon Ban. It's but like overall, not just on stall, because before you would really only see Dozo on full stall, but now like you can. I've literally seen it on an HO structure at this point where like you just throw behind screens. Like, okay, that's kind of a extreme example, but you definitely see this on like a like hazard stack Latios, good removal. We just win Condozo in the back. A lot of like basically so many teams where just 5 mons that sole purpose is just clear the way for Spadef Dozo to win at the end. Like I think one of the earliest examples I saw this was that Blymax team with the Curum on it. I know you're not really a fan of that team because it's kind of lacks top end or like a setup or any win con. But I think that was like the original example of how you could just wear out an opposing team just over the course of 100 turns and then just exhaust all their resources and then you go to Dozo and just clean up.
Sure. I think now that I've thought about it a little more,
you can kind of do that on stall as well because you have like SD Gliscor, you have your Weezings and your very effective removals. You can just drag these games out, like make them eventually wisp or poison their Ogre Pawn, and then finally you can go Dozo, and then you can still use Dozo because it owns Zama, owns Tusk, as long as hazards aren't up, and you can. I don't know. I think the fact that you can now no longer have to be pigeonholed into just fully FizzDef, Gambit, Moon, Wall is pretty cool for this guy.
I think A plus is pretty fair. I think I think Quagsire getting better has made Dozo a little less necessary, but it's still super good. So I think A plus is definitely fair.
It's harder to find reasons not to fit it on your team.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just good overall. On the other hand, we have Clodsire next, and I think Clodsire has just gotten like way worse in my opinion. I think Clodsire is really good in like a super hyper offense meta, where you have like Raging Bolt, Iron Moth, Golden Go, and like that can be too much for Blissey to deal with at times. And so when you have Clodsire, like you just wall those with ease, like no worries at all. But we've kind of shifted away from that, and that really hurts Clodsire's viability.
Like you kind of want your stalls to put a little bit more pressure back, and something like Treads is seeing a lot more use, and it's because it can knock, it can spin, it can get its own rush. I mean, it's get rushed up too, but
it's not as passive. It's not as passive.
Yeah, exactly. Like teams that have Claude on it usually are really slow at removing.
Like he fits better on the boot spam kind of stall and less on the removal spam kind of stall.
It's not as greedy. Claude is like a rock solid safe option for if you're really afraid of Blissey getting overloaded by all the special guys.
Definitely.
Then you just have Claude as like the ultimate stopper.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, cool. My floor is raised, but my ceiling is. And then there's going to be games where you're just like, oh fuck, I wish I had in any other poison type.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. He's definitely he's a good like a safety blanket, but he's not necessarily gonna give you chances.
You can definitely still build a team with a Claude on it pretty easy. Like it doesn't take a lot of thinking to be like, oh, Claude would fit well on this stall team. It's more like so many other things are also really good that
Yeah.
it's like, oh, this is probably better here.
So would you put it at like A minus or like B plus? Because I think right now that's probably right around where it falls. Like I mean I think Talonflame and Amoonguss are definitely both better. The question is Moltres and Quagsire the same, or are they worse than Cloud here?
Well, my personal bias would put Claude. I would have to put Clodsire higher than Cousin Quag, but actually, I don't know. I think I would definitely put it in higher than Quagsire and Molt still because like it has a clear role. Whereas Quag, sometimes if you have it, you'll be like there'll definitely be games where you wish you had a Dozo instead to curse up alongside a Zama or something and win. Um, Whereas Claude, it's like you know what it's on the team for. Every single game, it's there to wall the Goldengos, the Bolts, the Moths. Um,
All right, I think A minus is probably fair then.
yeah, bottom of A minus.
Yep.
Definitely worse than Talon and Amoonguss, but
I would agree.
you know,
Next we have Great Tusk. Great Tusk has seen a lot of success on stall way back.
way back.
In
The rest.
Yep. Yeah, way back in the day. But I don't know. I'm not quite sure about Tusk now. I think this one might be our first candidate here to not make the list. I with
Yeah, it feels wrong. It feels wrong putting it in C minus, right? Because it's like this is
Yeah.
the best Pokemon ever. Like, why would you?
yeah.
I think it's just like if you're going for that type of role, you just use treads instead.
Right.
You know.
Agreed.
So I
And
think Tusk doesn't really have a place on stall.
yeah, because like if you want like if you want a bulky Gambit check, well that's Dondozo or Corviknight for you. If you want like a utility ground, you have Gliscor or you have Treads. And so Tusk is kind of just like in between those two, but not really able to make a differentiating like niche for itself.
Yeah.
So
mean-
yeah, I think I'd be fine with leaving it off.
Leave it off the list. Yeah.
All right, next we have Gold. Gold is if we had to rank the stall breakers, he would go right at S plus, but that's not what we're ranking here. So Gold I like for a few things. Gold is really good at just fucking over the passive like G-King teams because it's immune to Thunder Wave, all poison moves, blocks all defog. Like it can be really good against some of these like bootsless balances or like these future port balances. Like I've run like protect plus nasty plot on Golden Go. Like you nasty plot on the chili turn, protect on whatever comes in, or even just take it out right there. And when you're running like bold, you live pretty much anything. So I think it has a lot of it's decent on some of these like semi stall or like more active kind of stall builds.
Yeah, it's interesting that Goldengo doesn't really have too much utility on stall. I think it's because Goldengo is such a like jack of all trades where it's got bulk everywhere, but it's not like specialized.
Right.
In
Yeah.
anything,
It's not
you
like
know? It needs the nasty plots to be able to be a super breaker. It needs, I mean, thankfully it doesn't get like set up defensive moves.
Yep.
'Cause that would be
Well, it does get
cancer.
Thunder Wave, but that's not all that useful on stall.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
around
I would be fine not ranking this one either, honestly, because it's like I know that there was like a light screen Goldengo on kind of some meme stall teams, but I mean, I would definitely say as far as stall goes, I would clearly put this below even something like Dirge. But I would be fine just leaving Goldengo off the list too.
I think I might
I-
tentative C minus for now, but I think depending on what else we end up putting in C minus, I think I could see him falling off
Public enemy number one for
Yeah.
stall.
for sure. Like I said, if this was the stall breaker tier list, it would be number one without a doubt. But yes, I think
On
it.
stall, you have to run boots or some, and it's like Goldengo doesn't want to run boots. It wants a
Yeah.
boosting item. It wants Rocky Helmet. It wants something.
Yeah, like I think there's a lot to like about Golden Go, but those aren't things that stall is necessarily looking for. So I'll put it at C minus for now, and if we end up taking it off later, that is fine with me. Wo-Chien. Wo-Chien is also one of those. Actually, you know what? I think Wo-Chien also has some room to.
Yeah,
Wo-Chien
I agree.
definitely benefits from Moon being gone because it doesn't. It really hates like the acro taunt set, but now with like Leech Seed knockoff like Giga Drain,
Not
like
only that, it's just walled by like it's just setup fodder. Sure,
Yep.
you have foul play, but like Roaring Moon's a dark type. It's
Yep.
gonna get
Yeah.
+2 in the aggro on you and kill you.
I think the one big knock against Wo-Chien is, usually you only have room for like one like kind of grass type, and when you're fitting a grass type on stall, you want it to be able to check Ogerpon, and you turn Ogerpon, like Wo-Chien just is really not good against.
It
And so
also suffers from its only recovery being like rest and leech seed, which
yeah,
in some matchups that's enough. That's all you need. But in other like in other games where you like have to pivot
yeah,
it in a
it can
bunch
it
and then
can
just
fall behind. It can fall behind for sure.
like you can't find a turn to get it healthy. Like you
Yeah.
definitely need it has to have a Mola on its team. And there was a effective stall team
Yep. Yep.
with Fred's
Yeah. Yeah.
Mola,
The
Wo-Chien.
triple
Yeah.
removal variation with the Wo-Chien. Like it's definitely got a room on
Yeah.
stall.
It's like if you can again, it's like it's very hard to build around, but if you can get it on there, it can have a very nice role.
Yep. I don't know. I think right around like C plus. Like I'd put it right around like G King. Like it doesn't have the utility of the Cyclizar or the Torn. Um,
Yeah.
and it's not as annoying as like Garg is. I think like Garg is a bit more potent as kind of the sit there and chip away at stuff.
Mhm.
So I think like a C plus. Like I think it's definitely better than like a Dirge. But
I'm
like
actually surprised we haven't seen more Wo-Chien explored
yeah,
just overall. Like not necessarily on stall, but just like, bulky offenses.
yeah.
Yeah. I guess everybody just immediately defaults to Ting-Lu.
Yeah,
Nobody's like, oh, I'm gonna try something new. Nobody
yeah.
wants to innovate.
I mean, if they gave, I think I've said this before, but if they give Wo-Chien like instead of like the dark grass, if they just made it like a dark poison, and I think
Dark Poison would be,
we would see this thing on half the teams in the meta, but
yeah,
unfortunately that's not the
yeah,
case.
better muck.
Yep. Anyways, the cousin of Wo-Chien here, Ting-Lu, is next. Ting-Lu for me is right in that Garg kind of tier. Like he's like a bulky offense staple, just like Garg is. Just shits out hazards, chips down everything, doesn't die. Um, but it's a little passive. And when you're thinking about utility grounds, kind of I feel like Gliscor kind of just dominates that role. So I think I'd put Ting right around B.
Yeah, I
I,
think so.
I think I see it. I see it kind of as that cousin, that specially defensive cousin to Garg here on Stole.
I was thinking about the Ting-Lu stall, the RMT.
Yep.
I wonder if that would be like better now because back then, literally everybody and their mother was running Terra Fairy, Goldengo, Dazzling Gleam, and Psyshock, which just obliterated this that team because it didn't have like a setup Blissey or anything.
Right.
And Ting-Lu was like the hard stop for Goldengo, and if the Goldengo can beat through it, then you just lose. So nobody is running that anymore. There still are very powerful Goldango sets that can be tough to handle, but I wonder if that specific team still has. I don't know if you've tried using it recently
Yeah, I
on
think the
ladder.
one thing I don't like about that team is, I mean, it has two knock absorbers in Clef and Gliscor, which obviously are very very solid. But I think like we've been talking about.
Oh,
I
that
think
team sucked versus Ogerpon. That's right.
right.
I remembered it.
No, it had
Yeah.
Amoonguss. So well, it was bad
Oh,
versus knockoff plus spikes,
yeah.
Ogerpon, which has gotten more common. And so I think when you think about teams like that, like the boot spam versus now like some of the the non-boot spam, like the removal spam instead stall. Like I think removal spam stall is preferred overall to the boot spam because you're able to deal with like a lot of these like different knockoff users like Torn, and Ogerpon, which I think the Ting-Lu stall RMT has a really tough time into.
I mean, I guess my way of ranking it is like right now. There's probably no way I'd use this over Clodsire. And
Yeah,
Clodsire already is like struggling to find a spot.
yeah, like I said, I think I'm comfortable with it at B, and I think you could argue it maybe even B minus, like right around where Garg is where I see Ting-Lu. All right, so yeah, I'll put it at B. Next up we have Clef. Clef, same thing. Clef has also gotten worse in my opinion because I think one big thing Clef did was it gave the sticky barb to Roaring Moon, and well, now there's no more Roaring Moon to give a Sticky Barb to.
Well, Moon, I think Clef was starting to get worse even before that,
Yeah,
since all the moons
definitely,
started becoming bulky roost.
definitely. And yeah, and especially when you face like the Terra ground like roost, like it can just dance up on you and then Oko with Earthquake and never have to even touch you.
I think Clef got better post Moon ban, but not on stall.
Right.
Because like unaware Clef isn't even a meme now. You can actually run that, and
Oh
it's
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
like
I mean, I think
really
I
bad.
I rented it.
So good on
Yeah,
like every Clef is good on bulky offense hazard stacks.
agreed.
Calm and Knock still a great win con. Just on stall, it just doesn't have it's not a dedicated switch into
Right.
anything.
Yeah.
So
And it's
it's
just yeah.
another ceiling raiser, not a floor raiser.
I think it's just like all the things that it struggled with, like nothing really changed to like mitigate that. Like it's still not that bulky, um, you know, and it's like nothing to really like. There's no like threat that it really like uniquely answers that it kind of could before.
If you're in a
Um,
fat mirror, you're like, oh, thank God I
yeah,
have
yeah. I
Clef.
mean,
But, yeah,
but
meta's a little too offensive for that. I would put it bottom of B plus, I think.
I think that's fair. Yeah, that's about right where I would put
It's
it.
like if you have a good five and then this guy just in the back, you're gonna win a lot of games just off the strength of Clef
Yeah,
alone.
it's super good in
Whether
the
it's
fat mirror, but
yeah,
like in the bulky outfit, like it really struggles with like the pivots and the like just like the hard immediate like power attackers.
Garg is all over the place,
Yep.
but most of the Gargs aren't like setup Gargs.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm just making this up, but I would say probably like a quarter of the Gargs maybe are curse.
I
So
think I've seen mostly rocks protect and like
yeah,
you're
because that already gets the job done.
yep, and regens are totally fine with like you only need you like yeah, Clef is only a worry if like guard kind of gets out of hand because it's immune to the residual damage. But like versus just the standard stall cure rocks, like you can stall that out with your regens.
And like
Um,
I mean,
yeah,
a little off topic, but like the Garg cursing isn't like that big of an issue anymore because like if you curse too much, Hex hazes you
yep,
because it outspeeds,
exactly,
and if you curse too much, the G King Sigh noises you because it outspeeds you.
yep.
So it's like not even really that big of a threat for stall.
All right, next we have the Muck. Muck, funny enough, Muck is about as good as Clefable. Like Clef, Muck is the hard counter to Clef, right? And so, I mean, Clef has definitely gotten better on other teams. So I think maybe there's room for Muck to be okay. The big issue with Muck is that like it just does fuck all into like Gliscor. Like Gliscor just eats Muck alive,
Mhm.
and so it's like
Even if you have Ice Punch, it's like I
yeah,
don't.
no, it
You
doesn't.
probably
It doesn't
you
do
probably don't
anything.
even do a KO.
It
Yeah.
does, yeah, it doesn't do anything. And so it's kind of like that. It's really great into the Clef fats, but it's really terrible into the Gliscor fats. I don't know. I mean, I think he deserves to be ranked. I mean, I think you could
Yeah, for sure.
I think you could use it for sure because the fat poison sticky hold is it's still good for like Iron Valiant, or
Yeah, fish.
even like a Torrent too. Like, cause I mean, I think Mulk has really good special defense, right? Like maybe it might be worth looking into some kind of specially defensive Muck. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I'd put him like right at the bottom of the C minus. Like, I think it's just fringe. It's borderline, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, it was really interesting when the first sticky hold muck
Yep. Yeah.
stall dropped. And it was like, it was kind of memey, but like it was playable. So it was pretty interesting.
Yep.
Just not the right meta to
Agreed.
explore with something like this.
Agreed. For me, and next we have, yeah. Okay. Next we have Weezing-Galar, and I think this is going to be our biggest winner
Yeah.
of this latest tier shift. I think right now for me, Weezing is like either an A plus or top of A kind of Mon. I think we've seen like we've been saying this whole time, removal has just gotten so much better, and Weezing just has so much utility versus like like it can burn Garg, it stops Gliscor from healing, like you can toxic, if your Toxapex toxes like a Clefable and then you switch in Weezing, it takes that toxic damage. It defogs on gold. It just does so many things that Stall is looking for that nothing really can do. And like you can have the Terra type like a grass or dragon for Ogre Pawn. It just does so many good things, and there's just nothing else that can really replace that role. So I mean, like I think I think A plus. Like I would not be. Uh, like I don't think A plus would be undeserved.
I actually have a really high opinion of Weezing. I asked in the Stall Council channel, like if I was crazy if I put Weezing in S. I probably wouldn't put it in S, but like I don't think it's crazy to think about
Yeah,
because
yeah,
this guy changes the whole structure of your team. Like you can run leftovers on half your mons because this guy is such a consistent removal.
yep,
Or you could double up on removal with this in Corv or this in Talonflame, or this in Treads. Like there's so many different options it provides. Um, I think Weezing opens the door to a lot more semi-stalls, or like, stall 5, win con something, whether it's SD score or, I don't know, a Garg or a,
yeah, definitely.
I think something like a Sinistcha. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just made that up. But yeah, it just allows you so much more different types of teams that just you couldn't play before.
yep.
And
It just
with
changes the way
yeah,
we look at stall.
like I would put this over both Dozo and Pex in my opinion. Because like
Um,
just because of how much this guy enables everybody else on the team. Like if this guy is on your stall team, this is the most important member of the team. Because this is the guy that wins you your mirror versus this is the guy that wins you your Gliscor mirrors. Your you switch it in on all the regen mons if you get the plays right and keep them low.
yep.
Just yeah, he's so good. Wisps everybody. The only trouble this guy has is it actually dies to +2 Terra Ivy Cudgel,
Yeah, yeah.
so you have
That
to
is
kill a
one
grass.
you have to terra
Um,
for that.
and you can't, yeah, you can't run like 200 speed on Weezing
No,
to try to wisp a
no
bit.
chance, no chance.
But even at 157, you might just outspeed, or you might
You
outspeed a
do
lot of
outspeed
the.
a lot of the uninvested gambits. Like I've
Yeah.
caught like the really like the bulky fat adamant gambits like that. Like maybe they like crit me or something, and then I just go wheezing and burn them anyways. So
And another thing with Weezing is you can run a few different items on it. You can run lefties, you can run boots, of course. Both of those are perfectly fine. I experimented with like Shuka Weezing on a.
what do you think about like a cloak or something? I think one thing I've been thinking about is cloak because I think one mon that's really annoying for like these double removal stalls is guard because
On
guard can like chip all your removers and just set
Mhm.
rocks in your face until eventually you have to switch out. And so
I
sometimes you'll
see
have
the
to leave.
idea behind it, but on the other hand, I feel like I have no problem. I mean, it depends on the team, but like I feel like a lot of times I have no problem just throwing my Weezing into a Garg anyways. And okay, cool, you salt cured me, but now you have to like sure if you have protect, you can
Yeah,
stall out a
exactly.
turn.
It just be a
No,
little annoying. Like Covert Cloak would
who's
make
taking
that.
this risk? I'm gonna pain split it all back
Yeah,
or something.
like I think Cloak
And
would
yeah,
just make it a
if you
little
can,
less
Hook would
annoying.
be a nasty. Yeah, I know if an opponent had a Garg and they're like, okay, at least I can get the Salt Cure chip, protect, stall out a turn, go from there. But I know if they clicked Salt Cure into a Weezing and it didn't get Salt Cured, they would be very upset.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe something to think about. But yeah, honestly like now, I'm honestly fine with putting Weezing at the top of A plus. Like I think it's super
Yeah,
good. It's gotten so much better, and it's really hard. It's really hard to find to build a great stall without it. So,
this is
definitely A plus for me. I think S is a little generous right now, but A plus, I have no issues with.
and it's another guy that like Pex, you can get away with running 4 status moves now since Taunt Moon is
Yeah.
gone.
All right. Next we have
And
Skarm. Skarm is
we won't talk about why I am not a fan of Weezing versus Taunt Moon.
yeah. All right. Next we have Skarm. Skarm to me has always just as far as stall purposes go, he's just always been like Corv's like inferior kind of cousin.
Yeah,
Like okay, yeah, Skarm gets spikes, but I mean, this
the
is
bulky
stall.
offense.
This is stall. We have like 4 mons that can set spikes.
Mhm.
Like we don't the need for hazards from Skarm is just not as good, and because you don't have pressure, um, you actually lose versus like a hit and run gambit 1v1 type thing, because it can just kind of stall you out of roosts, whereas Corviknight wins that. Um,
Mhm.
and it's also
Yeah,
way
it's
less
really
bulky
not.
on the special side. So if you have something like a mixed Curum, like Corviknight can beat that no issues, but Skarm is going to struggle.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, this is a bulky offense, man. You
for
don't
sure.
really, you can't pivot, can't defog. So
I don't know, maybe like
And
like a C. What do you think? I think he deserves to
mm,
be ranked, but like maybe like C or like C
yeah,
plus, C plus kind of thing.
I think on my Venusaur stall team, I did have a Skarm there, but that was just like kind of I randomly threw that team together with no thought, and I was like, oh, well, let me try the other metal bird. And it sort of worked.
I'm curious,
But that's
where did you rank
um,
Skarm on your personal VR?
let me take a look. I'm actually open. Where'd it
Yeah,
go?
I think Skarm for me is like floating in between a few of these tiers.
I think I had it B, but mine was like a lot more compact, where
Yeah,
I wasn't like spreading the mons out
yeah,
nearly as
yeah.
much.
And I think I might have everybody just quick before we publish,
Like
the
I had it
final
on,
VR.
I actually I had it like on the same tier as like Bronzong and Lube and stuff. But after hearing the arguments, like I would definitely like put it below Ting-Lu for sure. So
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably worse than like I don't know. I feel like G
I
King and
I would find a hard time comparing it to like G King and Wo-Chien because it's like the structures that it's on, like I would probably not even consider stall. So
yeah, I think I'd probably put it at like C. Like I mean, it's
yeah,
a fat as fuck physically, but like we got enough of that, and we have like we have like flame body mons. Like I think he deserves to be ranked, but there's nothing special about Skarm on Stole.
yeah.
Altaria, I don't know. I mean, Altaria is a interesting mon. You can run like Cloud9 for the weather matchup. You can run. It does get Wisp. It does get Fog. I've even done like the meme Fire Spin Perish Song
Yeah.
sets.
This guy wants to be the status absorber, but it's just and because natural cure
Yep.
and just leave. It's just not bulky enough to do it, and the
Yeah.
typing
It
it
gets.
can't really be a knock absorber because
Yeah.
it's a bird. Yeah, I don't think this guy has a place on stall.
Yeah.
I would say stall.
I would love to use it more. I think on some like gimmick teams. I think you can stretch to
Pick
fit
up
it.
maybe.
Yeah, you can stretch to fit it, but uh, as far as the
You want
cores,
roost, you want the perish trap, you
yeah,
want all of that.
yeah. I think if it was just a little bit bulkier, I think you could
Mhm.
justify it. But like, yeah, it does struggle into Ogerpon. Like once like the +2 like Terra Cudgels, like those hurt. So
You bring this guy in and your opponent has Kyurem. What do you do?
yeah,
GG.
exactly. Yeah, you don't want the double Ice Week. Because we'll get into Gliscor for sure.
Right, right.
And you're definitely stacking your 4x Ice Weeks if you run Altaria. All right, Jirachi. Jirachi does get Wish. It does get the Wish Tech Sight for Future Sight. Versus like an Iron Crown. It's really good at that. I don't know really what it does though outside of like kind of the Iron Crown G King kind of matchup. Like I mean, have you really?
Well, my favorite stall team of SVOU was the Jirachi Talonflame stall. I would say that's the most fun stall team to play. And like on that team, Jirachi's one of its best traits was that it was like the best catch-all Kyurem scout. Not counter, but like the biggest battle against so many Kyurems, especially for stall, is scouting the whole set, right?
Yep.
Jirachi allowed you to safely figure out exactly what you were dealing with.
Yeah, and
There's
I
a lot
think
of more like never melt ice mixed, and Jirachi helped.
now that you mention that too, a lot of what Jirachi did is kind of been taken over by Bronzong, which I think just is almost strictly better because Bronzong
Yeah,
gets rocks.
it
I don't know.
ignores
I
the
mean,
spikes.
I don't know if Jirachi deserves to be ranked or maybe we just C
I
minus.
would
Like,
rank it because I think I mean just based off the Jirachi Talonflame, so you could probably still play that now. That team like because that team didn't like to see Roaring Moon. Obviously, the meta's changed a lot since then, but I feel like you could probably load that and have some success with it. So just off the strength of that, I think Jirachi has a place.
all right,
Like top of
I'll give
C.
it a C minus. I think the wish is one big plus.
Yeah.
The 16 PP plus Jirachi I think what has 100 HP, so the wishes are not terrible.
It gave you like a way out versus a lot of things. Even like Goldengo, you fire punch and you have 20% chance to burn. Or
Yep.
there was a game where I had a burned Alomomola. My opponent had a burned Alomomola, and I 1v1'd it from full with Iron Head flinches, which was
Interesting.
mad
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to ranking it. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as has been before,
Yeah,
but
it's like why would you put it on your team?
yeah.
Like if you're building a serious team, it's not going to be on there. But
All right, next we have Deoxys. Deoxys is just kind of like a one trick for me. I've used Deoxys in the past as just it beats like the Hatterines, and like the stored power spammers, but I almost never run into those right now. I think a lot of the Hatterines just run like Psyshock or even AV. I think AV Hat has seen a huge uptick, and you just don't need Deoxys. I mean, I think you could make a case for ranking Deoxys here. I think like it is one of the best stored power walls in the game because it doesn't need Terra; it just naturally resists. But I don't know how useful that niche actually is.
Yeah, just pure psychic type is just I know it's got great bulk and it can get both hazards up. But yeah, it just feels like that's a role you'd rather cover for with other mons.
Although part of me wants to rank it, given that we rank Jirachi, but like I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem ranking it. I think it's also a top of C minus, bottom of C type of mon.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
It's just like everything that it does, like whether it's setting hazards or like you said, being the stored power wall. Those are roles you'd rather just slap better mons on your team for to fill that defensive purpose.
All right, Gliscor. I think no debate here. I think we're gonna put him straight at S.
I would put him really at the top of S.
Yep.
I think this is the only truly mandatory guy on stall.
I mean, even if you totally discount the Swords Dance sets, let's say we, for the purposes of hard stall, we say Swords Dance Gliscor is disqualified. Even if you didn't run Swords Dance, I think just alone, like the defensive utility sets would land him still with an S.
Mm-hmm. You can do fully Fizdef, and I mean that's not as good as like fully Spadef, but I mean I don't like disqualifying the Swords Dance sets because I think the best stalls now all put a little bit of pressure back on the other team.
Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing there, but I think even if you didn't even if you didn't factor that in at all to your decision, you would still make it into S.
If it didn't learn the move Swords Dance, it would still be an S.
Exactly. Yeah, and I don't think we need to really go over why. It just gets knock, gets great bulk on both ends if you invest it. The tech is just super good for stalling, and it can get both hazards. So you can run rocks, you can run spikes, depending on what you have. It just does everything that stall wants. It makes progress. It walls stuff.
You think this is the top two mon in the tier, just overall right now?
No, I wouldn't put it at the top, because Gliscor.
I would say Dragonite and then this guy, in my opinion.
I don't know. I think it's a bit generous, but it's for sure within my top 10, maybe top 5. But yeah. Next we have Rotom. Rotom is I don't know.
Never seen this guy. I've never seen this guy on stall.
It's been on like some meme teams. Like it's a solid Ogerpon answer to Swords Dance, but to U-turn it just it kind of shits the bed.
I guess it's like Wisp and stuff.
The one thing it is good against is like if you Terra Steel, it gets Foul Play and Pain Split, so it's kind of like a budget Weezing versus Swords Dance Gliscor, if you will.
If you were gonna do that, why would you ever?
Right. I mean, why would why would you not just run Weezing, anyways? If you were just gonna run Rotom, it's just. I think that's where I would struggle with ranking Rotom.
Wait, that's interesting. Why is this guy on the viability list and not Wash?
Well, Wash, because the last thing, like, the reason I think Rotom-Mow is better than Wash on stall is because we already have so many bulky waters. Like, if I need a bulky water, I'm not running Rotom. But if I want a grass type with Wisp and Pain Split, it can, that can answer Ogerpon, that can answer Gliscor, like, Rotom can do that. So I think he's kind of just like a budget Weezing, but for the most part, almost strictly outclassed. I guess the only thing he has over Weezing is he has Levitate. So versus like a Facade, EQ, Gliscor, like if you're Terra Steel, like you just wall that all day.
Mm-hmm.
Now whether or not that is enough to get it ranked,
I'm just gonna go and throw that behind Altaria here.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Now that we're not ranking Rotom, I mean, I don't know. I'm having second thoughts about ranking something like Deoxys because I mean, I think it's kind of just one trick.
I mean, I think those might be a little bit unnecessary
Yeah, I
of
think
our time.
I'll take off
Because like,
Deoxys.
I've literally never seen these. Like,
Yeah.
I've never seen a Rotom. I've never seen a Deoxys stall.
I think I'd
Well,
leave
okay.
Jirachi. I think I'd leave Jirachi.
I've seen a Deoxys stall, but like maybe like twice in the past year, and it was probably like me laddering up a suspect all through the 1300s or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. All right, so I'll take Jirachi, or I'll leave Jirachi on. I'll take Deoxys off, and I think Rotom I'm fine with not ranking.
Yeah.
Cress. Cress is another. Cress actually I do think deserves to be ranked.
Yeah, it's a question for sure.
I like.
Not good. It's been used.
So a few of the things that I like about Cress, obviously it has the semi-stall route, and it's actually been quite successful in that regard, with like the Covert Cloak stored power set. Like that set is really strong into a lot of bulky offense.
If you have a good 5 in the back.
Yep, for sure. But even disregarding those stats, it's a solid future side answer. It's got great mixed bulk. If you run something like a Terra Ghost, it beats like Ursaluna. It beats Facade, EQ, Gliscor. Like it can do some cool things, and it also gets it has like that healing move that cures status, so it actually fully walls like future sight, Glow-King. It's also like
That's
it can also
use the what's it called? It's not jungle healing. What's the
it's like
lunar lunar blessing or
yeah,
something? Yeah.
some shit like that. And I've used that before, and I've actually had some success with that.
Is that the 8 PP or 16?
That's actually 16.
That could be interesting. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I think I'm okay with putting it at like the Dirge tier, where it's like I think.
And another thing you can do with this guy is just the classic trick scarf, cripple something.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Movement.
For sure. Like you can catch like some like G-King unaware, like to just take its boots, and then just once you get your spikes up, that G-King is just done for. So yeah, I think Crest deserves a spot. I'd put it at C right now. It's nothing crazy, but it's not totally shit either.
Yeah.
Reuniclus also I think deserves to be ranked. Another thing that previously my dilemma with Reuniclus was, well, if I want to run a Magic Guard user, I'm just gonna run Clef because we have the Moon with the strongest knockoff in the tier. Like I need a mon that can take that, and that's Clef. But now that pressure is kind of gone, well, now you have Reuniclus, which has like a really strong psychic noise. It gets knockoff, it gets recover. It has and in this case, the pure psychic type is not as bad, because it kind of, it has like the good abilities to go with it. It can wall future sight, G-King, Iron Crown, stuff like that. Psychic noise is really annoying into like the fat mirror. So I think Reuniclus is unexplored, but I think it has a niche.
Yeah, I think another problem that compared to Clef is the speed. Like Clef, it's slow, but it's still a solid speed tier. It's the same as Blissey's, all the base 60 guys, Prim if uninvested. So just Reuniclus being a pure psychic and that slow, it's just this is my favorite. This is actually my favorite Pokemon, Reuniclus. But yeah, I think on full stall, just the fact that it's pure psychic, it's just not viable.
I think I think it's viable. I think I'd put it at C-.
Really strong offensively. Like if you have this guy and you're in a fat mirror, then you're like, oh yeah.
Exactly. Like and I think one thing I was gonna bring up too is it's really good versus like Weezing teams. Like if you're facing like a Weezing balance and you have like a Reuniclus on your stall team, like you are just gonna win that. Like it's so disruptive into those kind of teams. And so I kind of like that. And I guess you could argue like, well, that's not really, like the stall role. That's kind of more breaker. But, it's okay versus like some of the mixed knockers like Valiant, and all that. So
if you had a team hypothetically where you did not have to Terra any other 5, and you could like say my Reuniclus is actually I don't know what type I'd make it. Probably water type.
Yeah.
If I say my Reuniclus is always a water type, then maybe. And that's hard to do though.
It does beat Clef in the mirror too. So I think Reuniclus might be a candidate for getting a lot better. I think as the meta develops and we see more of like where balance and bulky offense go. But I think I think for now I put it at C-. Next we have Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz also gets defog, so actually I think this is also another
I think
underexplored mon.
I think Buzz isn't, it's outclassed, but like it's usable.
What do you think about like the Wo-Chien tier? I think that about sounds right to me. It's kind of like a solid like foul play Darkmon. Like it can beat Ogerpon, it can beat Gambit. There's other stuff that does it better, but like it does have some like a lot of like desirable traits.
It's
Like
not a good hit, but the problem is like if you want it as a knock, or it can't be a knock absorber because it's not a steel type, unlike Corv. It can't be a status absorber, unlike Gliscor. It
yeah,
can't, but it gets foul play, knock off, toxic.
defog.
It can use and defog. It's got a great toolkit. So like I think it has a role. It's just it's generally outclassed by
Yeah.
all the other birds.
All right, next we have Cole.
Sorry, where did you put it?
I put it at C
Wo-Chien tier?
plus. I put it at C plus. I think it's just I think you could make a case for C. I'm not opposed to C or C plus, but I think that's right around where I put it.
Mhm.
I'll go with C plus for now. I think I've seen it. I think I've seen it more than I've seen like a Skarm or a Dirge.
Personally, yeah.
Cole, I don't know. I think Cole, we put him on because CTC had this one team which had like a flame body Coalossal with like overheat and rapid spin, and it's kind of like a budget Talonflame. He's not terrible, but he really I think I'm okay with leaving it off. I'd be okay with leaving it off. The biggest issue with Cole is it just
The
has
fire rock.
well, actually, that's not as much of an issue because like it's decent into like Gambit, but yeah, it's pretty piss poor into Tusk and Ogerpon. And it was okay into Acro Moon as well. I think that was also another thing that it had going for it, like the knockoff acrobatic set. Like Cole actually beat that pretty easily.
OCTC set, spin, rocks, overheat, and what?
It was either rest or rock move, and then he used like Mola
rest.
Wish. I forget. But I don't know. In this iteration, I don't think he has a. I don't think he has a spot.
Someone should come up with or someone should make another ladder challenge to reach the ladder with a colossal stall, make some money.
I think it's funny. I mean, I think it has some good qualities, but yeah, no, I wouldn't. I think it's. Like,
I'll leave it off.
Yeah, if Rotom and Deoxys didn't make the cut, I don't think Volcanion would make the cut.
I couldn't in good conscience rank this when I have literally never seen this.
No, yeah. I mean, outside of that one CTC team, I haven't really seen it. And I would say it is mostly a jokey kind of mon, but it has some stall qualities. Next we have Gambit. Gambit on stall does not run the typical 99% usage Supreme Overlord adamant stuff. Instead, it runs the pressure rest set, and that set is actually surprisingly solid. Especially into like Golden Go, G King, Iron Crown. Like this set is not terrible at all.
No, I agree. I actually like Kingambit on stall. It's the only reason that, well, okay, the reason you don't use Kingambit on stall is because it's, the best breaker in the game, arguably. So
the best cleaner. I would say the best cleaner in the game.
Yeah, best cleaner. Sure. And it's like, why would you do that instead? But like, let's pretend for a moment that you took away Kingambit's offensive utility. This guy gets pressure, protect, rest, moves like thief, foul play, poison jab.
Stealth rock too.
It's just, stealth rocks. Like it definitely could have a role on stall. Like I've built stall teams with this.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Again, the V4 stall team, even though that was Mimi. It kind of tends to pair well with those grass poison, like I don't know, Vileplume.
Yep.
Amoonguss type structures.
Oh, and speaking of Vileplume, that is a mon that we should have added on. We'll put like a placeholder. We'll put like a placeholder for him. I think he does belong here.
I would definitely. It's a weird one to rank because I feel like if Kingambit weren't the offensive juggernaut that it was, it would definitely be way more common on stall because like it's the perfect future sight answer.
Yep.
Because dark plus protect, great bulk, and steel type. I mean, just the typing's so good.
Yeah.
Pressure is a great ability.
I think the only thing that holds it back is just it needs rest. That's it. Like you either need wish or you need rest. Like it needs one of those. And it can you want to avoid clicking rest as much as possible. So I think I don't know. I put in like the Wo-Chien tier, like what, or I could see the argument for like a B minus, but I think right around there is fair.
I think the Wo-Chien tier is becoming quite respectable. These guys are all like
these are like good role players, for sure.
Like you'll see them once in a while.
Yeah, definitely.
And they'll do some. I'll put this at like the second place in C plus, right behind Mandibuzz.
All right, and real quick while we're at it, I did mention Vileplume. I think I forgot to add him, but he does belong here. Let's just say for now Rotom, because we decided Rotom is not being ranked.
Yeah.
We'll pretend Rotom is Vileplume. I think he belongs in like the C or the C minus tier. Like he's like a worse Amoonguss, but he gets Strength Sap. He gets like the spore ability, which can be really annoying. Like
very interesting. Yeah,
really good. Sometimes.
Masquerada comes in triple axles on Effect Spore, and then if it goes to sleep on the first one, it just straight up doesn't.
Yeah. Or like
the second,
and it like you can spin block Great Tusk without having to worry about like a Stone Edge or a knockoff. Like you just eventually you get like the poison or the para or something on it, and that just kind of disables it for the game. I think Vileplume has a niche for sure. Maybe like a C.
Yeah, I like it in C. Probably like B above Dirge.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, top of C makes sense to me. All right, cool. All right, here we have Treads next, and we were talking earlier about it, but Treads is definitely a good candidate for a rise. I think I'd probably put him in like the Garg-Ting tier. It's like a. What do you think? I mean, I know you use Treads a lot more than me, so.
I would think B plus. I would say, yeah. Again, this is probably because I do use a decent amount of Treads. I've done a lot of experimenting with this guy. Just some fun calcs are from full HP, it'll live a close combat from, or if it's 252 HP, no defense invest, Treads will live a close combat from like Boots Zama. So you can like knock it off and then pressure it with hazards later. You can EV this guy to be faster than a Darkrai after one rapid spin with like hardly any investment. It's a great Raging Bolt answer.
Gold answer too. Yeah, it spins on gold because it doesn't spin on gold, but like it threatens it. It threatens it. Yeah.
And then the next time it comes in, you're just threatening to eat
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Rocks protect. I've got teams with like a lefties protect. So I just use this as my future. Like I just bring this in on G King, and then I pressure on the turn that
you get rocks, so you get knock. Yep.
Rocks, sure. And then I just protect as the future side comes out, and they're like, oh shit.
Yeah, you know what? I think I agree here.
I like B+. Very good utility.
Yep, I like B+ for sure. I agree.
I would say, I would definitely rank this over Quag. Actually, I would say top of B+ almost. Because I mean, maybe this is just personal bias because I've done a lot of experimenting with this.
I think
it just feels, maybe it's not fair to say like as a full Stallmon because those structures tend to be more semi-stallish, kind of like. I wouldn't necessarily call them bulky offense, but there was another interesting set. This is kind of a side note that I've seen recently. I think Fusion came up with this, but he has like a Covert Cloak Treads on. This is not on like a stall structure, but it's just he comes in, takes 1% from Salt Cure, and it spins away the rocks and knocks everything. It's an interesting. I've tried. It's a little tricky to build around, but if you can make it work, it's pretty nice to have.
Yeah, I think in B+ I'd go Treads, Quag, Molt, Clef.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Cool. All right, Sinistcha, he has fallen off a bit. He's still the best spin blocker there is in the game because he's not weak to ground, and he has that natural ghost typing.
All the Tusks up now, so it's like.
Yeah, it can get worn down a little bit. I don't know. I think I'd put him maybe at like the B, like right around like the Ting, like maybe the bottom of that B tier. The spin block is still
you probably won't spin as much. Great on both.
Yeah, exactly. I think the spin block is still really valuable, but now before you could just run like the foul play set and it would beat like the typical like 3A play rough Ogerpon SD. But now that they run like knock and spikes, like you want the regen Amoonguss for that the passive.
Yeah, if you have great removal, then this can still be a really effective Gliscor answer since that's something Stall struggles with.
Yeah, and I mean it's still good into some of like the like the Tusk bulky offenses with like no boots, You know, like an AVG King, like you can just get up your hazards and you know you actually win pretty quick because you know if they can't spin, they're just screwed. So it's solid for sure, but definitely not as good as it was when you know I made that my Quagsire that you know peaked the ladder where it was kind of like a key player. Hydrapple, I think it's
This one depends on what definitions we're
right. Yeah,
using.
like I really like the Nasty Plot set, but like I think you could argue that that's not true Stall.
Well, yeah. Every time I build with Hydrapple, even on these super fat structures, it's
Yeah, I
always
mean we
nasty
we
plot.
had that.
And then I always end up making it life orb too because I'm just
Right.
like, man, I want to build stuff.
I mean we had that Heatran Hydrapple stall that we made, and you know,
That was good, yeah.
you know, even though we used fully defensive Hydrapple, it still ended up being Nasty Plot.
Did we make it fully defensive?
We did, yeah, we
I
did.
don't. Okay.
I do remember it was max HP, max defense, Nasty Plot.
Which is still a good set.
Yeah, for sure. And it's one of my favorite Hydrapple sets personally. I just like having the bulk to be able to, you know, you don't have to worry about like the U-turn Ogerpon. Like you take like 30 from that and just kill whatever comes in.
You easily live an Ice Spinner from an attack of invested
exactly,
Tusk.
yep.
Well, not easily, but like you take like 90 max and then you suck it all
and
back.
then you heal it all back. Exactly. That's why I like the fully defensive set. But I mean on Stall, I don't know. I think
this
Hydrapple is
way better with Ben.
I think it's a candidate to get a lot better as the meta develops here. Definitely.
It's a big time fat buster.
Yep, for sure.
This guy beats Ting-Lu. This guy it can beat Slow King. It can
even Weezing,
all
like
the
use Terra on Weezing
yeah,
and win. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think B plus is fair. But
I
definitely.
think if we allowed the life orb sets,
Well,
because like
even just the
because,
nasty
like,
plot defensive,
yeah.
just the nasty plot defensive.
Right. I'm saying like if we allowed that into the discussion, I think I would actually rank it higher just because like I mean, I have like a lot of semi-staller structures where Hydra is used more primarily as a breaker rather than just as defensive. And I'll always pair it with like Mola so that like I can just every time Ogre comes in, I just wish and then just hard Hydrapple and I always win that interaction.
Yep.
And then like my Life Orb Hydra is a huge threat for, you know, everything. There's like very few switch-ins. Orb is not a Hydrapple answer. You get +2 and you Fickle, and if you proc, you just kill it. So I mean, yeah, and then it's bad long term because if you don't proc, you just lost 2 Fickle Beams. But like it kills everything. You can make it outspeed Blissey, so you beat Stall very easily with Nasty Plot, Life Orb Hydrapple. Yeah, I think this guy is. If you take away the Life Orb sets, I think B plus is fair. But if you allow the more offensive variation, I would probably put it like close to the top of A minus.
I think we'll go with B plus then. I think Life Orb is stretching the definition of
No,
stall
that's
here.
fair. That's fair. Maybe like below Treads, between Quag and Treads.
I think I'd have Quag a little higher. I think I'd have Quag a little higher.
Fully defensive. Then yeah.
Yeah.
This is a side note, but recently I saw something else that's very interesting. That might have some utility for stall. There was a RMT made with a Hydrapple that was eject button with recycle, and it was like Giga Drain Body Press or something, which was very interesting. And I was wondering if there might be some sort of.
Can you recycle heavy duty boots? Is that a thing?
Yeah, right. Once you I think once you lose an item, if you leave and come back, maybe you can. I think recycle has to be
I think if you get
consumable.
knocked, I think if you get knocked off, you recycle no longer works.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that. I'm not sure. I think it also has to be a consumable item. I'm not sure though. That'd be very.
That might be something worth looking into.
Grapple's boots, and they're back.
All right.
It's probably not. It probably doesn't have much utility, but I think
it's a funny set. It's a funny set for sure.
We could definitely do some cheese stuff. Like with that one berry that just randomly raises a stat, Dark Berry or something.
Yeah, no, I've never heard of that before, but sounds funny for sure. All right, next we have Milo. I don't know. Milo might be a candidate to drop off here. The one thing I did like about Milotic was, you know, previously with the boot spam, like, you know, when stall was mostly just boot spam. With Mirror Coat and Haze, it was actually the one mon and the good mixed bulk. It's actually the one mon that can beat Psyshock Golden Go without Terra. But now that we've seen like a big rise in like, you know, both offensive Gliscors on stall plus like especially defensive Dozos, I think
Yeah, and that was like before Bolt came out too.
right,
So
exactly. I think the place of Milotic on stall has kind of been just it still exists, but like Dozo is just kind
Mhm.
of better in that, especially defensive Dozo is just better there.
Yeah, I mean, it is super bulky. Like nothing kills this in one hit.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
maybe Power Whip kills it,
yeah.
but
Oh, that
yeah,
true.
it
That
is
too. Yeah. I think you bring up a good point
like
as to
what
why
are you doing?
it's
What are you doing back to
right.
Ogerpon? Because
Exactly.
like it was gonna be like
The
Scald
mono
Haze
the mono water
or
coverage is difficult. Because like if you think about it, you're running what Miracle Haze Recover, right? So what's your last move? Probably Scold. So you just kind of have like a
Mhm.
another mon that really can't do anything into
You
Overpawn.
would have to pair this with like
Amoonguss, you'd have to, yeah,
yeah something super good into Ogerpon. Yeah.
exactly. All right, so I'm okay with leaving it off. I think before it had a place, but yeah, not anymore. Kamala, same deal. Now that we've kind of moved towards like the Iron Shreds stall, like having Ting-Lu on stall, having Gambit on stall. Kamala is just a funny mon to have, but it doesn't do anything.
I think we can just touch on like what it does and like why you would even put it on a stall team, and
Right,
then just
yeah.
move on.
So I think previously, and there is an RMT for those of you that want to take a look. Kamala, the one thing it gets, the unique ability that it has, Comatose, it's completely immune to status, and so it gets Wish and Protect and Rapid Spin and Knock Off. And so when you're facing like it can knock off Golden Go, and surprisingly it actually gets like Kamal has like absurdly high base attack for like the mon that it is. So it actually beats most Golden Goes, or
Great for like as
yeah,
well.
like really gives them a hard time spin blocking. And then with Wish and Protect, you beat G King with Future Sight because you can't get Thunder Wave or Sludge Bomb poisoned, and it actually beats Hexbolt as well, because you cannot be wisped. And then if you just have like Defense Investment or you Terra Fairy, like you just wall Dragapult forever. And one other funny thing to note, because of the ability Comatose, you're actually always asleep, and so you always take Bad Dreams chip from Darkrai.
Oh, that's actually hilarious. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's something you kind of find out when it happens. But yeah, just a funny thing to note. But yeah, unfortunately, I think we'll be leaving him off this time. Umbreon, I've had some success running. The set that I ran was actually Mean Look, Foul Play. And so versus the two things that it does well is versus G King, like AV G King in particular, which can be really annoying for some teams. You would just Mean Look it right away, and then Foul Play is like a 3-hit KO or a 4-hit KO. And Umbreon is bulky enough to just win that 1v1. And
What's the
same
other
thing.
two? Wish Protect or what?
What?
What's the other two moves? Wish Protect?
Wish Protect, Mean Look, Foul Play.
Yeah, I
Or
can trap like Gliscor or something.
yeah,
as well.
exactly. And the other thing that I did was like on lead, if you're facing like an SD Gliscor, and it's an SD Gliscor, you just Mean Look right away. And like as they, or I think it was Moonlight Reflect, Mean Look, Foul Play.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing
yeah,
that
yeah.
set in the example.
And so you trap them with the Mean Look, and then as they SD, you set up Reflect, and then just Foul Play. And because you have the Stab Foul Play, you 2-hit KO them once they get to +6, and so you win that 1v1. I think I might actually that might be a candidate to make a video for, like the Umbreon stall. So maybe in a future live we'll see that. But
Problem with stuff like that, or like Mean Look Wo-Chien, the same deal, is like once you load that, Gliscor disappears off the ladder. You will never queue into
yeah,
one.
it is a one-time thing. I don't think you can get the same player twice with this.
Yeah.
But it's a fun little gimmick set. Bronzong, however, Bronzong did peak the ladder, and I think Bronzong is still really good. I think it's a little worse now that Moon is gone because now it's not as bulletproof into like Knock Tusk. But it's still good into non-Knock Tusk, and it's also good into it's still just as good into Kyurem. It's the best answer there is for Kyurem. So I think for Bronzong, I think I'm okay with ranking it at like B. I think the niche has been proven, and the utility is definitely solid. It's just maybe fallen out a little bit now that Roaring Moon has been banned, because I think some of the teams that it matches up into, it's not as good into.
think an issue this has now is that even it is the best Kyurem answer, but Kyurem can still beat it.
Only with the Terra Fire set, but I think my logic there was if you Terra Fire, you've kind of revealed that you're like full physical attacker Dragon Dance, and now like Dozo or something wills it.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, it's a good typing. Levitate is great. You can rocks, protect, sign noise, all that. I just found that in a lot of like stall mirrors or fat mirrors, Bronzong feels kind of useless because like all the sign noises, you just go Corv on it and then you steal all their moves.
Yeah.
It's very easy to defog on and pressure all their rockers. But yeah, it definitely has a niche. I would definitely put it above like Lu and Garg. Probably just at the top of that tier, like top of B.
I don't know. I think I'd put it below those two now. But I think it does belong in the same tier.
Like just on pure stall, because I feel like I definitely still see more Zong than these two. I think.
Interesting.
Just from that RM.
Yeah, that might be. It might just be a residual kind of thing like that. I think personally, I think I think he belongs in B, but I think Garg and Ting are probably a little bit better.
Yeah. Okay.
Regice. I think Regice deserves to be ranked. I made the video, so we don't need to.
Yeah, Bronzong is not the best Kyurem answer.
Yeah. Actually, I misspoke. This guy is the best Kyurem. And if you want more info on what Regice does for stall, I have a whole video dedicated to him. So we don't need to go through that role. But I think he does deserve to be ranked. Maybe like the Gambit level, like just a really good all around wall, trades into a lot of stuff. And maybe now that removal has gotten a lot better, maybe even a Gliscor answer with that, the Ice Beam body press coverage.
Yep. Possible.
All right, I think C+ is fair. Pecharunt. This one is an interesting case because Pecharunt has not seen a lot of usage on stall, but it is good on stall.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you think about Pech?
I don't build a lot of Pech stalls, but I think I would agree with that statement. It's unlike other poison types, you can't really say it's outclassed because it does different things than Pechs are. Like this is one of the best Ogerpon switch-ins that you can ask for.
It can toxic the magic mounts.
Yeah, I think this is the best Gliscor answer in the game because
with the Terra Dark.
You don't run Hex anymore. That people figured out that you can just run Terra Dark Foul Play, and that's the best Pecharunt.
And that beats SD Gliscor like just straight up.
It beats Gambit straight up too, which is mad funny. Yeah, you Terra Dark they get +2 and they low kick you, and it does 20% because it's like 10 base power.
Yep.
So I mean it beats Dragonite, beats Zama, beats.
Yeah, it has a lot going for it. I mean, it's definitely better on other team styles than it is on stall, but it's for sure very viable on stall.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? Like A-, B+?
Bottom of I don't know about B+, because like I don't really see this guy on full stall. I think middle of B maybe between. I don't know. It's hard to rank.
I've been experimenting a little bit with it. I kind of like what it offers.
On a full stall team, like you're thinking about longevity. You're thinking about and everything matters to like the number of PP your moves have, and your signature move has 8. Even though it's such a good move, it's like over a longer game, you're probably rather run Toxic or something instead.
I think I kind of like it as like a hybrid between Pex and Amoonguss. I think it's worse at the specific roles that Pex and Amoonguss do, but it's a good like blend because like Amoonguss can't do what Pex does, and Pex can't do what Amoonguss does, but Pecharunt can kind of do a little bit of both.
And like one of the biggest things that Pech provides is its pivoting, and you don't really give a shit about pivoting on stall. I mean, it's not completely unnecessary. Like pivoting can have a place on stall, but it's not as useful.
I think you make a good point. I think it's fine on stall, but like you can't really take advantage of the full kit that it offers.
Yeah, leaning more towards like to the semi-stallish or bulky offense.
Yeah, I think B is probably a fair maybe bottom of B with Sinistcha, or maybe a little better than Sinistcha depending on.
I think on a full stall team, I'd probably rather have Sinistcha just because it's a better spin blocker in the Tusk and slightly better Ogerpon switch-in.
All right, I think I agree with that assessment. Next we have Heatran. We both know uh, how useful Heatran can be. I think one of the great things about Heatran is that it is the only mon that really just hard walls Weezing. You can't be burnt, can't be poisoned, quad resist fairy. It's not going to stick around to pain split you or defog because it just gets 2-hit KO'd by any fire move.
Heatran stocks should be through the roof right now with all the Weezing that's around.
I think so. Yeah, I think Heatran still has like a ton of room to go.
I feel like I haven't seen that in reality. Like, I mean, I see it definitely, but just if it just feels like the same as before. Like when I do run into it, and like I have a Weezing fat or stall team, and
Exactly.
I run into oh shit.
And it sets up rocks in the face of every single defogger there is. Like Corviknight can't stay in, Talonflame can't stay in, Weezing can't stay in. I guess Cyclizar can stay in, but we don't see a lot of Cyclizar either. I think B- is probably pretty fair, but I think room to go up as well.
Yeah, I think Heatran is a big time ceiling raiser on stall
For sure.
Because I mean, the team we built with the Hydra and this guy, it wasn't even Magma Storm on the, but like that's
That
I
is
think
something
that
you
we
can run. Yeah, that is something you can run.
Yeah, it's just Moon. We badly needed a guy to because we didn't have Dozo, so we badly needed to burn everything. So we had to do
And
Whisper.
that is another team that also struggled with Moon a lot. And so that team,
I've loaded that team like a few times after, and I won all three of them. I think that team is definitely much better after the Moon ban.
100%.
But yeah, I haven't really played with it much.
Chansey is next.
You said B minus.
I said B-. Yeah, I think B- is fair. Chansey, it's just Blissey, but worse in my opinion. I don't know. I think I'd probably put it like at the C in somewhere in the C tier, like C plus maybe. I'm not sure.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Really?
I think we're gonna differ. Differ on the Chansey. I
Where would you put it?
Um below treads for sure. I would put it like bottom of B plus. I would say this is clearly better than Ting-Lu and Guard. I think Chansey is a big winner with all the removal. And I know earlier you were saying that it's only slightly bulkier than Blissey, but this is like a straight up. You can swap this into any Kyurem. You can. The difference in physical bulk is very noticeable. You'll live every hit from Tusk, Gambit, Ogerpon, any of those guys from full health. And like you can and this is leaving the realm of stall a little bit. This is kind of like what I was saying earlier about how Weezing lets you change the structure of your teams. But like Chansey allows you, if you want to run something a little bit more offensive, let's say an SD Gliscor in the back, I don't know, a nasty plot Hydrapple, having a T-Wave Chansey to eat the hits from the physical guys that are supposed to break it, T-Wave it, and then now you outspeed it with all your breakers, and you can pressure them big time that way. It's still a great rocker, great future sight absorber. I mean, you usually don't really run Protect or Calm Mind on this if you have it. It's usually Toss, Soft, T-Wave, and
Rocks.
when he moves it, Rocks, yeah. So it's kind of, pigeonholed into just that, but I think it's still really good at that role if you can fit it on a team, even on a full stall team. Like your Talonflame, it's actually in the samples right now. It says credit has gone to both you and Slaney, but the version in the samples has Chansey over Blissey, I think. So.
Yeah. Well, I think I've made my thoughts. I've made my thoughts. I've made my thoughts known on what I think about that, but I don't know. I feel like for me, like I mean, I think I agree with you that Chansey is better on anything not stall because it does give you that utility, and that mixed bulk is definitely more important. When you're considering non-stall applications, but when I think about just pure stall and I think the one thing that I really like about leftovers Blissey compared to Chansey is that you take advantage of like the dead turns. Like you're not just being swapped on, taking rocks, getting doubled on, and getting chipped, and then being forced to take a big hit while you recover. Like Blissey it's just so much harder to take advantage of.
Blissey's better in longer games as
right,
well.
in a stall, like in a stall context, I think Blissey is just better because, it has like a passable special attack. So if you're in a Calm Mind War versus like a Raging Bolt or a Golden Yo, like, you just win that 1v1. You get the lefties, so long term it's way better than Chansey. So like I don't disagree with what you said. I just don't see the value of that on stall.
You need like semi-stall structure, excuse me, or semi-stall structure, or like a bulky, like really bulky offense.
Yeah, I don't know. I think for me, like when I think about Chansey on stall, like I think the comparison for me is like Corviknight versus Skarmory. It's like Chansey is good. Chansey does the same thing that Blissey does. It's just worse in almost every aspect as far as stall is concerned. Like like Skarm having spikes is the same as Chansey having like the better physical bulk. Like because on stall, like you're really already running like a lot of like these mid-maxed mons, and like if you're dealing with like a mixed Kyurem, you already have like you have like you have like a Bronzong, you have like a Garg, you have like a Pex that can Terra. You don't really need Chansey for that kind of mixed bulk with the way like a
again, it's like you want someone. If you have Chansey, it's because you have someone in the back that takes advantage of the fact that Chansey.
On stall necessarily you don't necessarily have that. So I mean, like I said, I don't disagree with what you've said. What you've said is definitely totally true. I don't see the value of that necessarily on stall. So I think I'll put it at C. And I know you probably still are going to disagree with that even after this, but that's just how I feel about it. So
All right.
all right. The last two we have here, Hawlucha. He's like the budget. He's like a mix of Corv and Weezing. He gets for those of you that don't know, Hawlucha gets the Mold Breaker defog, which actually, funny enough, on the very first stall team that I ever made, way like 2 years ago when I was just first getting into OU, I ran Hawlucha as my defogger. Specifically because, I hated Golden Ghost so much. And at that time, he was the only one that could defog through it. I don't know. You have any thoughts on this guy?
Yeah. I know there's been a RMT recently with one of our stall cord members made. Shout out Aquilo.
Yep.
But I think it's a little more on the meme side. It's kind of just doesn't. It's kind of a do nothing mon. Like even if it defogs, that's like its sole purpose. And it doesn't have
like the additional utility. Yeah. Like it can defog through gold, but like unlike Corv or Talon, it doesn't have like the flame body or the same kind of bulk, and it doesn't have the utility of Weezing either.
And like if you're gonna say okay, it can encore Goldango into nasty pot, sure, but like
long
if
term,
you're playing long term, like you get 8 of those and then you lose.
Exactly.
I think it has a.
It definitely deserves to be ranked. It deserves to be ranked.
Yeah, I would say like bottom of C, maybe. No, wait. Actually, just given the fact that it was on a team and it performed somewhat well, I would maybe put it like
C+.
Above this Vileplume. Oh, C+, you think?
Actually,
I think there's no way this is better than Cress. But
somewhere in C, I think makes sense to me. Actually,
I would put it right above Vileplume.
Sure. Well, that would put it at the top of C, no?
I have Cress, then Lucha, then Vileplume, Dirge, Skarm.
I guess we're just splitting hairs here. I mean, ranking in between C.
I thought I was just doing what you did, but
whatever. It's not bad. I mean, I think in C, the whole point of C is like these are like niche but viable. Like definitely have seen some use kind of mons. And last but not least, we have Hippowdon. I personally am a big fan. Well, I'm a fan of Hippowdon. I think Hippowdon has some really great qualities. So just a quick overview of what I like about Hippowdon. I have run the specially defensive set on stall. And with like if you run like heavy slam EQ, like you 1v1 like Hatterene. I've even beaten like Specs, Contrary, Stellar Blast, and Amorous with this thing, even after it got to like +2, because Heavy Slam did like 90-something%, and then the Sand took out the rest. I was so close to losing, but I just won because of Hippowdon. But like it's a great mixed wall. It gets rocks, it gets body press, it gets slack off. It even gets Scorching Sands. Funny enough, so like you can like burn Tusk, you can burn Gambit. So I mean I think there's a lot to like about Hippo. I think the one big detractor for me is Sand does chip down everybody on the field. So like if you're bringing in your leftovers Blissey, well, you've kind of just negated the
We
leftovers recovery.
don't have to run Sand, right? It
Um,
gets another ability, I think.
what, like Sand Force?
Yeah, yeah. So you don't necessarily have to run.
Well, I do like. I guess getting into the Sand aspect too. I do like running Sand because versus Sun, like Hippowdon versus Sun is just an auto win. Like it's impossible to lose.
Yeah,
And that's
true.
like Modest Wake plus Specs Moth. It doesn't matter. Like that is it's just an auto win. You every time they go
Yeah,
Ninetales or Torkoal, you just go Hippowdon and you just win.
yeah.
So I think with all that in mind, I mean, I don't know if he's better. I don't think he's better than Wo-Chien.
Well, it's a ground type that, you know, completely outclassed by, there's how many ground types ahead of it? One, two, three, four.
For you.
Yeah, it's just very hard to.
It's definitely worse than all the other ground types. That
I-
for sure.
If you're building a new stall team, maybe you start with this guy.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I did make the team that I made it on was like I was trying to make like a nothing but Gen 8 Mons in nothing only Gen 8 Mons in Gen 9 stall. And Hippo made the cut.
That's funny.
I don't know. I think I'm okay with putting him at C plus. I think he's better than like Vileplume or Skarm or Hawlucha. Like I think I've seen real success with this Mon, but like he's nothing crazy either.
Yeah.
So
I
C plus.
haven't really seen this.
Yeah.
I think I know. I think the Ross was using it to some success. Yeah, like
Alright.
a Garg.
Yep.
A Garg Hippo stall is interesting. But Sand sets up the Garg for
Exactly.
a
Yep.
million.
Yeah.
It's
You,
like,
you
oh,
boost the Spidef and then you have like Curse and then you just win.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think Hippo is maybe a little underexplored. A decent role player, but
I think this is a good tier.
nothing crazy.
Or I think this is a good ranking. Everything's pretty.
But yeah, I mean, just looking at this overall, I kind of agree with it. And I think we cut out some of the stuff that really just never sees the light of day.
Some of that B plus B minus ranking, maybe stuff could get shuffled around a bit, but I think it
Yeah,
looks
like I
pretty
mean,
good.
if you wanted to like drop all the C minus out and then kind of
Yeah.
clear out the B and have a little more separation in between there, you could do that. But I mean, I think overall this is I generally agree with where the direction of this VR ranking. I think it reflects what's good in the meta, and I think when I look at the top, these are the mons that I'm seeing on the best all teams, and so just kind of intuitively it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is Gen 9 OU stall ranked. Thank you everyone for watching. If you made it this far, maybe in the comments, why don't you let us know? Do you think we did a good job? Is there a mon that we maybe left off? Do you think there's something that we should we've overlooked and should consider for the next voting? Is there something that you really disagree with and think should be in a different spot? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Any final words, Sire Claude?
No. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Cool. I'll see you guys in the next video, and also stay tuned for the full viability rankings. The official ones will come out once we've all voted and aggregated those votes and put together the spreadsheet like we normally do. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys in the next one.